Okay, this is going to be short, Lord willing. I even went to the chat. So the topic, okay, this video is based upon this video right here, put up by GMS Watchman. Breaking, Denmark says NATO will end if Trump attacks Greenland. So my topic is NATO. Denmark says NATO will end if Trump attacks Greenland. Denmark is a part of the EU. I believe a part of the NATO. No, I'm sorry, a part of NATO. I believe a part of EU too. But we know for sure that Denmark is a part. Somebody can look it up for me. I'm not going to look it up. I'm tired. It says Greenland is under the jurisdiction of Denmark. Greenland is a part of Denmark. So you have the head, I believe it's the president, a woman, and she made this statement, and I heard it this morning. It says Denmark says NATO, because Trump is now saying, now we're going to go after Cuba, we're going to go after Colombia, we're going to go after, he said Iran, we're going to go after Greenland. He's just trying to take over the whole world. He does not give a fuck. This is what you people don't understand. He's sitting as a king. He does not give a fuck about Congress. He does not give a fuck about the Supreme Court. He does not give a fuck about the senators, which is part of Congress, the House of Reps. He does not give a fuck about the Constitution. He's just doing what the fuck he's doing. And somehow they're justifying it. There's no way you can go to another country and arrest you couldn't arrest an average citizen. You have extradition laws. You just can't go. Oh, the FBI went there. FBI's jurisdiction is within the United States, and anything that has to do with federal crimes. You know, the FBI can't pull you over for going through a red light. That's not part of its jurisdiction. If you rob a post office, something like that, go to the federal building, you try to commit a crime, that's when the feds get involved. If there's a major crime that goes from state to state, that's when the feds get involved. But you can't go out the country and arrest a president. And then they asked this guy, Trump, and Marco Rubio, you guys didn't go to Congress, because by law you're supposed to go to Congress. And they said, oh, we didn't have time. We didn't have time to. This dude is doing what the hell, but there's a reason why he's doing what he's doing, because he's the king of Babylon. We strongly believe he's going to be the one that ushers in the chip and Armageddon. So anyway, so I watched this video. This video is only 6 minutes long, minus a second. Denmark says NATO will end if Trump attacks Greenland. Now, how would this work? You have the NATO alliances under Article 5 of the, I guess it's called the NATO. Matter of fact, I can go ahead and look it up. Let me go ahead and look it up. Bear with me for a minute, y'all. So we're getting into geopolitics. You have to, in order to understand these prophecies, which nobody really gets into the prophecies, they don't know how to take what's happening in America, what's happening in Venezuela, what's NATO all about, what is the EU all about, what is BRICS all about, because they don't know how to filter it through the scriptures. Like vocab, he doesn't know how to filter this stuff to the scriptures. He doesn't know that Russia is Gog and Gog Magog. He doesn't know about the least of the flock shall draw them out. He don't know that. Inside joke. You know, I had to say it. Anyway, I don't want this. I want this here. Let me get this here. Let me get this here. Come on now. Come on. Come on now. wants to move slow. Okay, so I was looking for civil war. This is maybe 2 hours ago. I put in civil war in Venezuela because right now there's a civil war, but it's not, you can't find it. Look at 2 days ago, 2 days ago. There's only one YouTube video, maybe two now, that goes into, what's the name of the video? I think JRL Investigations. That's the only, and I went and I filtered it out. Nothing came up. Anyway, let me do this. Let me see. What is Article 5 of the NATO alliance? I don't want news, I want all. See, we here at GMS, we focus on these last day prophecies. We're not going to argue about, oh, you guys, you should be baptized. And see, the Ethiopian eunuch was baptized, and that was after the... Look, brother, I'll say this about baptism. Yes, you can baptize, but that doesn't mean if you don't get baptized. I never got baptized. Does that mean I ain't gonna make it? No record of Paul getting baptized. Matter of fact, he said he baptized a few guys. He said, but in other words, it ain't no big deal. It's symbolic. Read, what is that? Ephesians chapter 5. Give me a second here. This thing is moving slow. You got these pop-up Israelite camps just out there on the weekends with the sign and the fringes. And they just reading scriptures, not being able to filter these current events into the scriptures. That's why none of them, or pretty much all of them, I would say 98% of them, they don't believe in the mark of the beast being a microchip because they're following other camps like ISUPK, IUIC. They're major camps. So really, they don't know what the fuck is going on. Okay, it's a treaty, not alliance. Article 5 of the NATO treaty is a collective defense clause stating that an armed attack against one member is considered an armed attack against all, obligating other members to assist the attacked party, potentially using armed force to restore security in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So let's come on back to this. This is what I wanted. That's known as the Article 5 of the NATO Treaty. It was set up to combat Russia after World War II. So now let's come back over here. So my question is this. Another reason why we can see, give me a second. All right, here we go. Back over here. I'm not going to make this long. I'm going to let this play too. So now, NATO was formed as a coalition of European nations after World War II. And you had, going into the Cold War in Russia. It was building up. You had the space race and so forth. And then you had other nations involved that you just, World War II ended, 45 to be almost exact, 45. You had England was no longer the world reserve currency, but the United States was. That was after 45. The what is that? Bretton Woods Conference. Anyway, you had this treaty of these nations. So that's in case Russia or any other nation attacks one of the nations, they all have to involve themselves. They have to, it's like you hit one NATO nation, you hit all of them. So what do you do when a NATO alliance nation, the U.S., attacks another NATO alliance nation? Well, they're bound to attack the U.S. So that's another reason why we can clearly see Revelation 17 and 16. Now we can clearly see it. Because this dude's a madman. He's saying, we're going to take Greenland, which is Denmark. He said, he made a statement. If you heard him earlier, I watched him talk the news programs and stuff. He made a statement that, Denmark said they had a ship, they were ruling ship back 300 years ago. They had one ship. He said, well, we had ships too back then. Well, first of all, that was 300 years ago. It wasn't no 250 years ago. U.S. didn't come on the scene until 1776. So you go back 1776, you go back to 1720, the U.S. wasn't around. So what the hell is this guy talking about? So if he does bring forces, as soon as he brings forces, the other NATO nations would have to come together and fight against the U.S. And now ultimately they're going to do it. So that's another reason why that we can say that that's the reason why the NATO and the EU nation are going to attack this place. We sound like a broken record. Either we talking about this or we talking about the MOTB. These are major prophecies. So anyway, I'm gonna let this play. I went to the chat. I asked a simple question. Is NATO mentioned in the Bible, in Bible prophecy? Short answer, no. NATO is not mentioned. Where is the Bible? Nowhere in the Bible. Anywhere in the Bible. And there is no direct Bible prophecy that clearly refers to NATO by name. Of course, that's why I said mentioned, spoken about. But look what I found out. What the Bible does and does not say. NATO mentioned? No. NATO, modern nations, U.S., UK, Russia, EU, etc., military alliance by modern names. Now check this out, because they are going to say that it is mentioned in the scriptures. The Bible was written long before modern political structures existed. Right, it's called prophecy. So it uses ancient kingdoms and symbolic imagery instead. So check this out. And I didn't put GMS or nothing like that, or Israelites. Passages sometimes link speculatively. Some interpreters point to verses like Daniel 2 and Daniel 7, which speak about NATO, EU, Babylon the Great. Empires symbolized by statues or beasts. It's one statue. Ezekiel 38 and Ezekiel 39. That's where Russia look at that. A future military coalition. Gog of Magog. Right, not Gog and Magog. It's Gog of Magog. The Magog means from Gog. So it's really Gog. Revelation 6, chapter 16 and Revelation chapter 17. Nations gathered for a final conflict, which is called Armageddon. 16th chapter. People who try to connect these two NATOs usually argue many nations acting together, modern alliances. Western powers revive Roman Empire. Important. The connections are interpretive and debated, not clear or agreed upon. mainstream Christianity, assigning modern groups like NATO to prophecy is highly speculative. So you even got Christians that they say that NATO and the EU are biblical. A lot of them say that goes back to Daniel and so forth. Why the idea persists? NATO is a large, powerful military alliance, which they call it a beast. You see a guy in the gym, he's all skinny and puny. 2 years later, this guy's muscles all over the place. You call him a beast. Oh, he's a beast. Prophecy discussions often look for modern parallels, of course, because it's prophecy. Current global conflicts make people revisit apocalyptic texts. Could this be the beast? Bottom line, NATO is not mentioned in the Bible and Bible prophecy, right then as name, right? Any link is interpretation, not explicit scripture. Christians differ on how or whether prophecy applies to modern geopolitics. If you want, I can explain Ezekiel 38, compare different Christian views of prophecy. That shows you that they're not on the same page. These Christians are trying to get at us, and first of all, you got how many? You got 25, 30, 40 different denominations. Well, one of you is right and the rest of you is wrong. So shouldn't you be arguing that? You people are all backwards. The scriptures say, take the beam out of your eye before you take the mote out of somebody else's eye. So you Christians, we got to come against them Israelites. No, why don't you go against yourselves? That's why we take them as a joke. They're an ongoing joke to us, and they need us. For them to get a lot of views, they got to put Hebrew Israelite in the topic. If you just did the old Christianity, ain't nobody gonna listen to you. Show why scholars caution against modern nation mapping. Anyway, let me go ahead and let this play, and I'm gonna close it. I told you it wasn't gonna be too long. Okay, is this it right here? That's not it. This is the Civil War. That's the only video up on the Civil War. So they're keeping that shit from the news. So let me let this play. Very short, 6 minutes.
Giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the bishops of Great Millstone. And Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash.
I was looking at her, right? Met Frederiksen, a Danish prime minister. Now, she looked like an Edomite, but look at the hair. The hair is a little kind of on the kinky side. Like it ain't straight hair. You know?
Brakatham to the 144,000 servants, as well as the remaining elect of Israel. So real quick, I just came across this post on Instagram. It's from Bloomberg TV, and they're covering the Prime Minister from Denmark. And I done a lesson on this topic earlier in the morning in regards to the tensions between the United States and Denmark, which, by the way, again, Denmark is one of the 10 horns that we read about in the book of Revelation 17 and 16. It's a part of the NATO alliance, and as I mentioned earlier, what we're seeing in the news is the hatred being stirred up amongst these European nations, amongst the 10 horns, if you will. Their hatred is being stirred up against America. And according to this report here from Bloomberg TV, which I didn't know, it says down here, Denmark Prime Minister Matt Fredrickson said that if President Trump were to attack Greenland, that would mean the end of the NATO alliance.
Or that would mean,
So what would
or that would mean the other member nations would have to attack America. Infighting, if anything. So this guy, he's doing what this prophecy tells him to do. The king of Babylon is doing exactly what prophecies tell him to do. Man's goings of the Lord. So we almost out of here, man. All you got to do is hurry up and chip everybody, or 98% of the people, and then we can be out of here. And the following month.
we're seeing right now is the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai breaking up Esau's kingdom, bringing about great division amongst these Edomites, amongst these Edomite nations, which is a beautiful thing to see. What we're witnessing is prophecy, right? Even Yahweh Shai said that if Satan be divided against Satan, how can his kingdom stand? So these Edomites, their kingdom
Nero said this when he first got in. He said the Gulf of Mexico is going to be the Gulf of America. They haven't changed that. Everybody says the Gulf of Mexico. He said Canada is a state, and that the president of Canada is nothing but a governor of the state. This guy's a madman.
Is divided according to the prophecy. Prophecies such as Daniel chapter 2, you can read from verse 38 on down. It speaks about Esau's kingdom being divided. So that's what's happening in the news, man. The Lord is bringing this man's kingdom to an abrupt end. Let me just play this back and I'll read off what's being said here in the video. So she says, firstly, I believe that the US president, i.e. Donald Trump, the king of Babylon, should be taken seriously when he says that he wants Greenland. But I also want to make it clear that if the United States chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops. That is including our North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which we understand NATO alongside the European Union is the beast. It's the revival of the ancient pagan Roman Empire today, with America spearheading that whole hegemony. NATO being the military end of that alliance, and the European Union being the economic, political division of that hegemony. So this woman is saying that if he attacks, it's the end of NATO. That is including our NATO, and thus the security that has been provided since the end of World War II, which is known as the second woe in the Bible. And what does it say about the second woe?
About this individual, the king of Babylon, he doesn't realize he's part of the prophecy. He's a major character in prophecy. He does not realize that this place is going to be a desert. He doesn't realize that he's going into captivity. And he's an Edomite. Oh, he might be a Jake. This nigga's an Israel. I mean, this nigga's an Edomite for sure. Now she might be a Jake. She might be a Jake. She got the little kinky hair. She got to use a coarse brush to get that thing to stay down. She get up in the morning with an afro.
Revelation 11 verse 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly, World War III, which is on the horizon. We're in the midst of World War III. It's going to escalate, and it's going to escalate to a nuclear war. and it's going to result in the complete destruction of this place that you know as America, Babylon the Great. Okay, Obadiah verse 7. It's going down, man. Denmark has always been a good ally of the United States. We want to continue to be so. But I also have to address that some of what is being said from the American side, and of course, we will not accept a situation where we and the Greenland are threatened in this way. So, she ain't backing down. You know, we'll see what comes of this, but again, this is what's happening in terms of geopolitics, in terms of Esau's kingdom, which is currently being divided through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai. So I pray and hope that you brothers and sisters out there were edified. This is just a brief update pertaining to the lesson that I done earlier. Until next time, I'll say Shalom.
So with that, I'm going to say Shalom.